What are the karmic consequences for everything that's happening in the US right now? That's what we're talking about today. Hi, my name is Tamala, your empowerment partner, professor, and psychic, and welcome to your empowerment place. All right, so this is really a complicated issue. So I'm going to say as much as I can as quickly as possible so this doesn't drag on all day. And I'm not going to be able to talk about 100%. So let's just make peace with that. So the first thing I made a couple notes. So the first thing I want to talk about is compliance. Okay. So in America right now, today's January 29th, 2025, the Trump administration has taken charge. They are enacting or attempting to enact some really authoritarian executive orders. And most of them are being challenged in court. Some of them are on a freeze. Others will continue to be frozen or will become frozen as they're working their way through the court system. Okay. That's not the karmic part. The thing that we need to be really clear about is there is a judicial process that needs to be carried out for all of these things that are being put out in the world because the law needs to be tested and there needs to be clarification on where the line is. Okay, so that everybody knows where the line is. Okay, that has to be done. And that's one of the things that Trump is really good about is pushing that envelope to find out where the line is. Okay, so that's going to be helpful for everybody. Then, once it's determined where the line is, then the American public get to start making decisions on whether they want to change those laws and rules, move those lines, or if they want to make them stronger and sturdier and more substantial, right? There'll be opportunities for choice once everybody knows where the line is. And this is a huge time for white Americans to show up and do their part in this fight with good and evil. And so I'm going to explain what that means. I had a session a little while ago, and I was talking with a client, and this came up through the Akashic Records, that back hundreds of years ago, up until probably the 2000s, in America, good and bad were identified as black or white. The good guy wore white or wore a white hat. The bad guy wore black or wore a black hat. And that's how, in the movies and entertainment, so forth, that's how you knew which side people were on. Okay. White was good, black was bad. Okay. Well, all of that has shifted and changed in the last 20, 25 years with the clarity or with the control being shifted and moved through white supremacy. Okay, conscious white supremacy. Has it been white supremacy all this time? Yes, but most of it was unconscious to most white people. Okay, they didn't know that it was about white supremacy. Okay, especially poor white people or people who were intersectional, like myself, who were intersectional with people of color. We didn't really see that it was, white people against people of color. We thought it was just they didn't like poor folks. Okay, there is that element, and also the element of race. Okay. So all of that has been blown out of the water, all of that illusion or delusion that it wasn't white supremacy the last 20, 25 years, that bandage has been ripped off. So it is really super clear in America right now that white supremacy is the problem. Okay. And when I say white supremacy, it includes white nationalists, white Christian nationalists, right? Nazis, all of that is what I'm grouping under this term. Okay. So literally, the fight moving forward is going to be white people who are not white supremacists fighting against the white supremacists, because there's no more illusion that a person of color has anything to do with this. This is just about power. Okay. And because it's just about power and it's just about white supremacy, white people have to be the ones to fight the fight. Okay. So that means people who look like me are going to have to be taking the stand against all of these things that are unacceptable and inappropriate. That's why those lines matter, those legal lines matter, because white people also predominantly don't want to have the image of breaking the law. Okay. They want to do things right because we're on the right side of the law, right? Okay. There's also that illusion or delusion. And so the line, where that line in the sand is going to be drawn. And white people are going to have to be the ones who are vocalizing, who are marching, who are voting, who are donating, who are having conversations, who are writing and calling their Congress people, who are doing the work. Okay. Because this is a white supremacy problem, and people of color don't have to fight that fight. Okay. White people do. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is compliance with lawful orders. That line in the sand is going to tell us what the law is, right? But for instance, with the military, I was a dependent wife, active duty Air Force for 11 years. I worked for the Air Force as an employee. I had a security clearance, all that. And so it was very clear that we had to follow lawful orders. If the current president and his regime gives an order that is not lawful, military, government officials, citizens do not have to follow that order because it is not lawful. That's why that line matters. We got to know if it's lawful. If you are given an unlawful order and demanded to do it, okay, and it's been proven it's unlawful, you don't have to do it. And if they fire you, you can sue them, blah, 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 right? That's always been the case. That is still the case, okay? That is still the case. You do not have to follow unlawful orders. Now, is it a potential you're going to get fired? Yes. And you can sue them and so forth. Okay, same process. What happens if you're given an unlawful order and you follow it? Okay, this is where the karma comes in. You need to really start thinking about all these things. If you are working for a government entity of any kind, and you know that this in some way, shape, or form is going to show up in your work life, it's going to come across your desk, it's going to be a duty you have to do, right? You need to already be clear on what your integrity is, on what you consider to be the lawful orders, and how far you are willing to go with your own integrity and still feel like a decent human being. Okay. For instance, if you work for ICE and you have to go and raid schools, and you're separating children from parents, and you're not documenting these children, you don't know who these kids are, They're too young to tell you their names and their addresses and their parents, right? They don't know where they live. And you're just putting them on a bus and they're getting shipped off somewhere, never to be heard from again, because this has happened the last time Trump was president, right? This is not new. So if there's no system in place to track those kids, to know where they're going, know how to get them where they need to be so that they can be reunited with their parents, you need to have a conversation with yourself and see, is that in alignment for you? Does that align with your integrity? Does it align with the person you want to be? Because it is the person you're going to ask to become. You're going to be asked to become, to make that decision, to do that, okay, in this scenario. So you need to know which side of that you're going to fall on. And you need to sit down and really explore it and go, okay, if I know systems in place, they're going to be looked after, they're going to get where they need to go, everything will be fine, then yes, I can do that without any qualms, and I can sleep at night. And when I die and I'm judged, or whatever your religious belief is, I can say, yes, I did the right thing. Okay. Or if you can say, I'm going to put these kids on buses, nobody's going to track them, nobody knows where they're going, they're going to be lost in the forever. They're not even going in a system. They could be going to sex traffickers for all I know. Am I going to put them on that bus anyway and still be able to sleep at night? Am I going to be able to follow through and be the person that sends these children out into the unknown with no precautions, no safety, no security at all, and stand before my maker when I leave the planet and say I did the right thing? Now, it may not be that cut and dry for you. You may work in an office and maybe it's signing papers. Maybe it's pushing through warrants. Maybe it's not funding programs. Could be anything. But whatever it is, you need to go ahead and decide who you are going to be, because you will get the consequences of your choices. We all do, every day, all day. That's what karma is, the consequence of our choices. And so you need to already be thinking about this stuff and how it applies to you and what decision you would make. And if you're going, I just work here, I don't have, nope, that's a cop out. You have a choice. You get to decide who you want to be. Who are you going to be? Because when you leave the planet, you're going to have to account for the person that you were, for the decisions and the choices that you made. But wait a minute, it's just my job. You're exchanging your life, your time, your energetic resources, your knowledge, your wisdom, your effort. You're exchanging your lifetime for this work, which then gives you money to pay for your life, right? This is what you're doing. This is your life. And so these choices that you're making are going to reflect on your life. They're going to be a direct result of the consequences that you're going to get moving forward. And they're going to be the consequences that you get in the afterlife or any future lives after that. So understand, you don't get to cop out and say, oh, well, it's just my job. I don't mean it. I'm not that person. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you are. If you're doing those things that are not in alignment with who you want to be, and you're doing them anyway, It is a choice that you are making. You are choosing to be that person, and you need to know that. Now, if you're in that situation between a rock and a hard place and you feel like it's not an integrity for you to be doing this, start looking for a new job now. Now. And don't just like, oh, well, oh, look, there's nothing out there. Because what that is a self-sabotage where you don't want to actually change because change is scary for all of us, makes you nervous. You get triggered. You go into your fight, flight, or freeze, right? And you don't really do anything different. So then you find yourself in a situation where I have to make this unintegrous choice. And then you throw yourself into the idea that you're a victim. All of that is an illusion. All of that is a delusion. You could have made a different choice. Actively, right now, start applying for jobs. They don't have to be the big money job. They can be the transitional job that will pay your bills and get you from where you are to where you want to be. At least you won't be harming people, or you won't be doing things out of integrity for yourself, so that you can sleep at night. So you're creating and becoming the person that you really want to be, the person that you want your children to see you as and your grandchildren, the person you want to be proud of being. Even if that means you're working at a less prestigious place, but you're still making the same or more money. And you're doing something that feels integrous for you. Start looking now, because I'm going to tell you, when it gets hard, everybody's going to be looking. And so right now you might be going up against 1,000 people for a job. When it gets hard and this stuff starts moving in hard and heavy, you're going to be competing against 10,000 people that are looking for that job. So start looking now. And the next thing I want to encourage you to start doing is looking for the things that are not seen. So when all these orders are coming out, these executive orders are being written, start looking at the depths of, or that's going to impact this, but it also is going to impact this and this and this, right? So one of the things that I noticed right away when they started the ICE roundups is not only are they rounding up all of these people that may or may not be U.S. citizens, they shut off the app, which closed all the appointments. So that means even the people that were legally doing the process that was set up for them to do, they were legally following the law, following the rules, doing what they're supposed to do. When that app got shut down, that means they're no longer able to fulfill those legal requirements. Okay. So that threw them into now having the consequence of also being deported. Okay. There was that. Then all of these people that are being deported that are here legally in the process or illegally, okay, all of that's out. So all of the jobs that have been supporting those people legally, in process, and illegally, and I'm going to talk about the illegal in a minute, all of those jobs now are going to go unfulfilled. The work that those people were doing is going to go unfulfilled. So there's going to be a lack of whatever they're contributing to the world. For instance, if they're working on farms, they're not picking vegetables and fruit. Okay. So that means that's going to be rotten in the field. because white folks ain't going to go out and pick them. Okay. So there's going to be food going to waste, and there's not going to be food in the grocery store. So the ones that get there are going to be double or triple or quadruple or more in price. And so people are going to be complaining about grocery prices even more than they do now. So there's that. Then there's also the jobs that supported these people, like the unemployment office, like SNAP, food stamps, WIC for babies, healthcare, right? Any of those services, those are not going to be utilized because those people are not here. They've been deported. So that means all of those jobs are not going to be supporting anybody, so they're going to be gone. So all those workers who were working and drawing an income and benefits are no longer going to be employed because there's nothing for them to do. And so now they're going to flood the employment market and make it even harder to get a job because now there's 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 people applying for the same job. So here's the thing that people have been missing about the illegal people, the illegal immigrants, is that the only way that works is capitalistic businesses who want really super cheap labor where they don't have to give benefits, they don't have to pay minimum wage, they don't have to give a decent working environment, right? Really crummy, terrible bosses. Those are the people that were hiring the illegal immigrants. And honestly, they've needed to be out of business for decades. The people that don't want to hire people and pay them a living wage don't need to be in business. People who don't want to hire people and treat them well and give them a good working environment and the ability to succeed and benefits and health care and all of that stuff, they just want to use them as slave labor, don't need to be in business anyway. Okay. So this is going to be a huge karmic comeuppance for all of those businesses that have been employing illegal immigrants up until now, because those businesses are part of the problem. And you're going to see a lot of things get flipped upside down because they are not functional businesses. They can't operate the way they've been operating all this time, like the farming industry. The farming industry receives huge amounts of money in subsidies from the government, taxpayer money, and they hire low-wage slave labor with no benefits, terrible working conditions, and food prices are still so high because of all the middlemen that are between the produce and the consumer, right? There's, I don't know, 5, 10 layers, and everybody in there is getting paid. And so just understand all that's going to have to change, because without labor, those businesses can't function. So there's going to be a lot of things that get flipped on their head in this process. So keep a lookout for that. So think about what's not seen along with what is seen. Okay. Start paying attention, because everything has a ripple effect. And everything in the US, all of this right now is directly impacting capitalism. And so because it's impacting capitalism, it's going to impact every person and everything in that capitalism process, right? consumers, providers, businesses, individuals, employees, the whole gamut. And you need to pay attention to where you are in that capitalism process to see if you can insulate yourself somehow and not be, I'm going to say, and be less harmed by this process. Okay. Because everybody's going to get dinged for sure. You just want to be less dinged than necessary, right? You want to be as safe and secure as possible, while also maintaining your integrity, being the person that you want to be, and then you can start helping solve the problems. Okay. You can start contacting your senators and representatives and donating money to causes and supporting what needs to be supported. Okay. So get on this, pay attention. If you're in one of those jobs that is going to cause you to be a person you don't want to be, get a new job. Make that your entire focus. Your job is to get a new job. Okay. Work on it now, get it done. It's not negotiable. You're not a victim. You have a choice. Start looking now. Okay. Put your questions or comments down below. Let me know what you think. What else do you want me to talk about? Let me know, and I will see you next time.